Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we're going to spend more time discussing and unpacking the proposal that was brought forward by one of my community members actually in a comment from one of my videos. And it seems to be you guys approve of this. So I actually want to give this more voice. The issue in question, or the topic at hand, is a right of refusal, or you as a card owner to refuse rental of your card to certain either accounts or based on certain criteria that you pre-establish, and those filters would just automatically determine if the contract can conclude. What that would look like is essentially this. You can stipulate, I do not want to rent to this account name because we know it's a bot farm. Or it might look like your account needs to have 5,000 SPS staked on your account before I will rent to you. And that would be a case-by-case basis. Every owner of every card could make that decision. Maybe you would implement 0 filters on your rentals and others would choose to do so. I think this is an innovative way for us to counter some of the concerns that we mostly share around bot farms and the access that they have to cheap cards and relatively free extraction of value from the Splinterlands ecosystem. I think I'm going to go through comments on this issue because there's lots of support for it. And for that reason, I really wanted to highlight this topic further because I actually think this would be a great, if not proposal, maybe just an implementation or at least a review by the community members that we recently elected to represent us. And so I want to just push this conversation forward. I hope this video will do that. And yeah, share this with whoever you can so that we can, I guess, make this desire known. Okay, let's get into it. So it all started with a couple days ago. I did a video, SPS. Well, it goes back a ways, but it stems from the conversation around bot farms and how we can resolve those. And it was, someone said in a recent lab event that I did, maybe SPS staking will be really pivotal and key toward silencing or ending the bot farms. And then Tales from the Cryptmancer came out and said, no, they've got plenty of SPS and here's the proof, and showed the data for it. So then I actually did a video saying SPS won't work, but this might. And we talked about the cost of cards shooting to the moon, which would prevent rentals from being cheap, which would mean bots can't equip their decks so they can't achieve high level of success and extract value for nothing. I think there's a lot of little solutions that will contribute to this, but one comment that was talked about in the video I'm pointing out here, SPS won't work, but this might. One comment came from Aaron B, and he had a comment I featured and discussed in this video, wherein he gives the idea that we would restrict rentals based on filters and that would be the user's preference. You can decide for yourself. You don't have to, but you can. And I think that's brilliant and it's simplistic and it sounds easy to implement. And so then as I read comments, I just start to see Dom says, I like Aaron's suggestion. It adds more power to the community, allowing us to control for assets further. And then Florian says, Aaron B's suggestions are really amazing and should be possible to implement relatively easy. Aaron is the GO SPL, says Geotrix. SPL can stand behind decentralization while giving renters, the people, the decision to screen who and who not to rent to. It makes perfect sense to me, man. Let the bot farms create new accounts. Someone smart could create script to scan through all those measures mentioned above, make it a Hive blog post, and we can call it Parasites of the Week, and all great changes start from a communal level. See, this is it. This is why I want to do this video, because of what Geotrix said here. It's this idea that great changes are going to start at the community level, where we are going to, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe not unanimously, but I think in large part agree that, hey, this would be a level of authority and control that I would desire as a card owner, maybe. And maybe you would desire as a card holder. And look, it's my cards. Why can't I implement these sorts of strategies? Especially if it's not, to restrict access to an individual, but it's actually to restrict access to like a bot farm of thousands or tens of thousands of accounts, where it's been pointed out repeatedly by Tales from the Cryptmancer and I think Aftersound and others, the level of contribution that these accounts are making is not commensurate with the extraction. And that's in part because of the way that they were able to begin early. They began their bot farms at a time when it was just $10 to play and you got free cards, and there was no such thing as ghost cards, and there was no such thing as collection power, and they got the ball rolling. And one of the amazing things about bots is, like them or love them, it's the fact that they really have proven the whole thing about that I say on the channel, which is so often, which is that this game rewards you for your time and attention. And look, you might say, no, they don't pay any attention. They just turn on a bot. Wait a second. They have to program a bot before bots became readily available, by the way. They're not going to Archmage 4 years ago. And so I'm not trying to celebrate them, but I really want to say that this is evidence. If you invest your time and attention over a long time horizon, things will snowball into this massive and meaningful way. And I think that's true on the individual level, and has obviously been proven to be true across dozens or hundreds or thousands of accounts. And so it's exciting, but then we want to create an economy and an ecosystem that is sustainable. And if they are allowed to continue to extract value without, and I think Tails' point, without contributing value to the system, because one, they already have millions and millions of reward cards that are transferable. They're earning tons of reward cards that are not transferable. They have SPS, like tons and tons and tons of SPS, enough to stake across thousands of accounts. And then DEC, of course, because they can burn the collection cards that they don't want, equipping them to, whether it's rent more cards to succeed at high levels. So it's the bot farms that are here are probably here to stay, because I think they're going to be strong enough that they're going to be resilient despite some of our restrictions. But this right of refusal on your rentals seems to be a really pointed way for the community to recognize, to empower itself by recognizing who are taking advantage of the system. Now, for all of that and my excitement around it and my encouragement that this would go somewhere, and even I want to read a couple more comments too, because it's not just 3 or 4 people that said good things. Big Dog Web did disagree. It looks like, I'm not sure this would fix. I believe the profitability would bring out the wolves due to the increase in SPS DEC, which gives bots more incentive. Now, this might be true, but it doesn't mean that it won't. This idea won't help. Mike Levy said the solution is simple, really. Yeah, see, this is not really that simple. Hewitt goes, it's not free to make a new account, so Aaron's suggestion would work. And Rob's counter, which Rob was a commenter who said on Aaron's first comment, saying, you know what they'll do is they'll print more and more accounts, which is, Hewitt's right. It's going to cost $10 a time when they do that. So that's money into the hands of Splinterlands, which is more and more runway for the game we enjoy and we cherish and we hope will be here for many years. And Aaron did send another comment. I think it was on a different video. And he added to it, and he said, he added to it his original comment, and he goes, I can't find it right now. Maybe I can. Let's try and find it. Here we go. This is the original comment saying we should just restrict the rentals through a right to refuse. But the secondary comment was over here. He says, I don't want to make a proposal out of this for several reasons. If enough people disagree with one part of the idea, the whole idea gets rejected, which I think is probably true. And he goes on to say, too, I think the team's responsibility on how to exactly implement, how to schedule it in, or should it be done slowly by adding one filter a week, etc. I don't think it should be a proposal, because right now, as it exists, bots have almost maximum power to hide their identity and extract value from the game, but we are not given any power to diligently block or screen them out, exercising our own property rights, which is an interesting way of looking at it. And so that's why I wanted to feature it the other day, and that's why I want to revisit it now, because I do think a lot of us agree. The team created an economy that could be exploited and dumped the problem on us. I don't entirely agree on that. I think to be honest, we created an economy, like collectively with the team, but I won't nitpick. He goes, it's our game. We should have some sort of power to protect the integrity of it. This is it, guys. This is it. If we have the ability to do so, to, thoughtfully refuse rental access across, a degree of criteria that really seem justifiably linked to bot farms, such as do not rent to accounts that have 0 SPS staked. That's pretty key right now. Forget about SPS staking. right? Forget about the criteria that Splinterlands is trying to implement. Right now, you know if an account has SPS staked, give me a filter to say, I'm only going to rent to people who have 1,000 SPS staked or 100 SPS staked. And by the way, it's going to punish me if I'm being, as the borrower, as the lender rather, it's going to punish me because I'm going to be renting to a smaller group of people. But for the integrity of the game, I think that becomes something I'd be willing to do. When I rent cards, I'd be willing to put that restriction upon it. And it goes, do not rent to accounts with 50% or more soulbound reward cards with 10% increments. So 50, 60, 70, whatever, 30, 40, 20, whatever increment you want to implement. Because again, you don't want them to be here solely out of the soulbounds. Maybe you want them to express ownership of other kinds. Do not rent to accounts with less than X amount of CP. And even if we move to a place where collection power ends up becoming irrelevant from the game standpoint, the lender of cards should be able to, I guess, recognize the degree of collection power that you carry. And then I guess the automated system should be able to honor this sort of restriction. And so I think this is like both immediately implementable and long-term sustainable in terms of how it would approach, even if the game changes how it measures a serious player or a player who's, going further up and further into this thing, right? And then do not rent from insert bot farm trait here, or do not rent to the following account names. And again, those account names he talked about in the other comment, they can be, community members can maintain a database of known bot accounts. This stuff can be found with a bit of, picking at the blockchain data and seeing where are these cards being sent to. Millions of cards are being sent from this account to that account, or 1,000 accounts are funneling cards into one centralized account. Well, that becomes quite obvious. And I think this conversation becomes reasonable. And this is where I want to finish the conversation for me today. I like this idea. I don't think it's going to resolve bot farms in and of itself. I think bot farms that are here, that have thousands of accounts, will find ways, as some people comments have alluded to. But I do think we should fight the fight. We should try. What I don't agree with is one of the comments we read earlier today was like, just ban them or make sure everybody can only have one IP. These sorts of things are indicative of a lack of like blockchain understanding. See, Aaron's suggestion to me empowers the user to defend their own assets. And within blockchain, that should totally be possible. What becomes a problem for me, and you might disagree, that's okay. I'm not okay with looking at Splinterlands, the team, banning people for representing a bot. But I am okay with individuals caring for their own assets and implementing rights of refusal upon certain borrowers. And that would punish the lender. So that's why I'm okay with the lender making that call, because they want to make that call for the benefit of the community, for the benefit of Splinterlands as they see it. I'm not okay with the game in having that sort of authority and control over us. That always goes wrong. I don't want more central authority. I want more personal autonomy, more personal sovereignty. I want our community to be the sort of people that are striving to have more and more control of their own finances. And I think Splinterlands and blockchain generally are this path into being your own bank, and actually this path into like financial freedom through this technological revolution. And I don't want to surrender that to central authorities and just trust that Aggie and Yaba, who are currently, I love them. I love where their head's at. I love where their vision's at. I trust them, but one day they might sell their interest. One day they might retire. One day they might pass away. They will one day, right? So these ideas that we're just going to provide authority to these people we trust because they'll always be here is foolishness, and it's bad. That's the way of like normal investment. That's not the way of blockchain. We do things from a decentralized level, and is it always perfect? Of course not. Is it problematic sometimes? Yes. And this is one of those examples. But I feel as though Aaron struck something here. So if you agree that this idea of this right of refusal around card assets decided by the lender at the individual level is a great idea. Share it with people. Dave McCoy, I think, was on the recent town hall, and he was representing the community members that were recently elected. And there's 5 of them, I think, right? So you know who they are. Reach out into Discord, communicate with this video, sharing your desire to see this go further, for them to have conversations amongst one another. Would this work? For them to then bring it to the team. Aaron said he doesn't want to see this as a proposal, but maybe it should be. Or even if it's not a proposal, how do we action this? So let's put this in front of people and let's try to see this go somewhere. Because even if this is not the end of the conversation for how bot farms are here in Splinterlands, and I don't think it will be, I think it could be part of the solution. And so I'm going to leave it there, but thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you have an amazing day. God bless.